Hey, welcome. In this video, I am going to be talking about what is secondary drowning, how to spot the symptoms of what secondary drowning is, how do you know if you're experiencing it or a loved one, a child, and my whole experience of secondary drowning. Okay, so there is a part 1 to this video, and this whole experience happened after I did very nearly drown. After a near-death experience, I passed out in a pool and sank to the bottom of the pool, inhaled and took in a lot of water. And after that experience, I was like pulled up from the water, put on the side in the recovery position, and yeah, my sister-in-law, she was smacking me on the back until I came round, and luckily I did. It hadn't been too long, but it was long enough for me to have all the symptoms and actually go through the whole crazy experience of secondary drowning. And I'm sharing this video more because I had never heard of it before I experienced it myself. And it's something that we really need to be aware of, especially as parents, because our little kids, they love being in the pools on holiday, don't they? And sometimes, you think that you pick them up quick enough if they've like inhaled or gulped a bit too much water, but hopefully after watching this video, it'll give you a bit more of an insight of the symptoms of what to look into. So I'll first share my experience of it. So an hour after this whole experience of me nearly drowning, I felt fine actually. I had a really sore throat. There was other things in my body that wasn't quite right, but that wasn't attached to secondary drowning. But I was breathing fine, I was thinking clearly, it was all good. After about an hour and a half, I'd say, we got back to the hotel room and I started to feel just quite unwell. I started coughing relentlessly, really like I couldn't get out what I was trying to cough. And then I remember bending down, trying to get something from one of my bags or shoes or something. And when I bent down, all this water was pouring out of my nose. And I was like, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting that. And then again, every time I bent over, all this water was coming out. And then I was coughing. I was going back and forth to the, bathroom because I was just like, I don't know what is happening. I feel really disorientated. I went really, really cold and shivery, and we're on holiday here where it was hot. I had to put my fleece jacket on, and I was on the bed, and I just remember saying to my husband, I don't think I can go down for food. I just feel really unwell. I just don't have the energy. I couldn't even get myself up. I was just so lethargic, and this is not like me. I'm not a martyr when I'm ill. I really, you know what it's like when you're a mum, you just have to get on with things no matter how ill you are. But I really couldn't, and I was really coughing. I was struggling to breathe. I was like, I can't breathe in deeply in my chest, and there's a pain there in my chest. Luckily, my sister, she's got cardiomyopathy, and my older brother, we were on this really big holiday. They came to the room, and my sister's got this special watch that like measures your heart rate, and she measured mine, and it was like 172, and I was resting. I was not doing anything. I was just trying to sleep. And she was like, Sally, your heart rate is really high. Basically they were getting really concerned, and then I was getting really concerned. And so I was like, right, I need to go to the hospital because I don't feel right. And I was searching all my symptoms, and then up came secondary drowning. I was like, I think I've got secondary drowning. I'm experiencing all those things. So let me just share with you what they are in a list, because it's good to know what to watch out for. So I'm just using my phone here because I've Googled it. Persistent coughing, laboured breathing, chest pain, extreme fatigue, exhaustion or lethargy, vomiting, fever, irritability or mood changes, and difficulty talking. And I had I feel like I had every single one of those, because when the water wasn't coming out my nose, it was kind of like coming out of my mouth. Oh, it was horrible, a horrible, horrible experience. I couldn't even walk. They had to get me a wheelchair because I didn't have the strength to walk. And when we got to the hospital, we had to go through this like, it was like a reception area, and they had no seats there. They said, if you just wait there, and I just couldn't. The next thing, I was sat on the floor because I couldn't physically keep myself up. So they had to get me a wheelchair, and I got sent straight in for an ECG. So they were doing all the tests on my heart. They did a lung scan, a brain scan, just to make sure that I didn't have any brain damage. Luckily, even though my heart rate was really high, they did things. They gave me, I don't know what they gave me, but this is where I'm really thankful for hospitals and medics and nurses and everything. They gave me something to calm my heart rate down, and on my lung scan, it showed that I had water on my lungs. So they did, I think, a saline drip. I'm really not useful, I'm so sorry. They did a drip anyway, and they were trying to cleanse and take out the liquid that was on my lungs, basically. I was in there for about 4 hours, I think. 4 to 6 hours, something like that. Anyway, within that time, I felt so much better. Whatever they gave me, whatever they did, it helped, and I felt so much better. But if I didn't go to the hospital, I think I would have maybe had a heart attack. That is often the case. You can have secondary drowning, where when you fall asleep, it's like your lungs re-drown. It sounds really, really awful, and it is. So we need to do everything we can to make sure that that doesn't happen. So yeah, the symptoms that you need to watch out for, research it. Know about what secondary drowning is, because it is real, it is fatal. And I'm not saying every case will end up in this if they should just swallowed a bit too much water, but just be aware of what it is. Like, now I know I will be watching it in my kids, or, hopefully not me again. And it's a real thing. So yeah, I hope this helps. So I literally had every single one of those symptoms. So I'm extremely grateful for people knowing what it is and how to treat me. And honestly, I feel like that day, God, universe, source, whatever you call it, I felt like there was people that came into my life that were around me who were sent as living angels. Like, it's given me this other idea of what angels are. And I feel like sometimes different people in our lives can be angels in that moment. And there was one doctor this nurse, and she just was so lovely. A lot of the other nurses didn't speak great English, and it was hard to communicate, but I was just crying because I was just processing what had happened to me. Like, I'd nearly died, and it was just a lot, to process everything. And this one doctor, she came to me and she just held my hand and she said, "Tell me what happened." And I was saying, and I feel embarrassed and I feel shame that, I've been watching all my kids and my nieces and nephews in the water, and then it was me at the bottom of the pool, and I feel so embarrassed. And she just looked at me in the eye and she said, "Sally, it is not your fault. You passed out in the pool. You were having fun. It wasn't your fault." And I was just like, and I was just, so grateful for that moment. And I don't believe it was my time. I believe that I was supposed to experience that. But, I had my sister-in-law, who was the angel in that moment, who was there at that moment when she wasn't, at other times when I was, and you just think, it was all divinely orchestrated. Was I just supposed to experience that experience and share about this? Share about secondary drowning, share about near-death experiences and what they mean, and what happened to me, and to help other people voice about it if you've experienced it. And every experience is different, so just have no judgment on yourself, compassion and love. And if you need someone to talk to, you know where I am. My details are in the description box below. And if you want to watch, if you haven't watched my first video, which was how secondary drowning actually happened and my near-death experience and what happened after I passed out and I stopped breathing and all of that. So do watch that video, and yeah, let me know if this helps. And I hope that you never have to experience anybody with secondary drowning. But if you do, number one thing I would say, get to the hospital straight away. Even if you're not sure, even, you know, you just can't play around with life, can you? Always make sure, just get there. No matter how much it costs, like, life is so important. You are so important. Your family, your loved ones are so important. And I was actually very, very surprised that the lifeguards didn't recommend that I go to the hospital. It's like they didn't even know what secondary drowning is. Surely this is part of what they're educated on. So that's another thing. Yeah, it definitely needs to be heightened awareness on this whole, we need to have a heightened awareness on this whole topic. Yeah, okay, thank you for listening. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you again soon.